watching my dreams turning to ashes.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Thank you very much for all of your comments and questions. They are multitudinous. And with all that's going on, I think I will, without further ado, simply plunge right in. It has to be said, never a dull moment. One needs to try to have a sense of proportion about all of this and find it edifying and entertaining wherever possible, even though it can sometimes be pretty maddening as well. But this is the best living tableau vivant that exists at the moment. That actually was a little bit of a redundancy, but we won't go there. Dina Cap says, and this is really interesting, it looks like many people who ordered one copy from Amazon received 2 copies. Dina Cap is absolutely right, and I'm going to prove it. I ordered 1 copy, one showed up, then the other showed up. And I thought, oh, that's rather interesting. And I thought no more of it, because I thought I might have made the error. Several people have written in, including Dina Cap, to say that they ordered 1 copy and got 2. And I thought, hang on a second. This book is being so garbled, really. It's being totally garbled, because Harry and Meghan, who are themselves Goebbels' grandchildren in terms of trade, in propaganda, I thought, could this be a deliberate policy to have driven up the figures? Because I ordered the book half price some considerable length of time ago, so that I would have it and be able to review it for all of those of my viewers who would be interested. It has to be said, my publishers also tried to pull strings for us to get an early copy, and no early copies were being given out. In fact, they treated the manuscript as if it were Fort Knox, until, of course, it was leaked in Spain. Ha ha. Well, I've looked into it. I only ever paid for 1 copy. Now, that's really interesting, because it means that the figures have not only been artificially inflated by having all of these offers, buy chicken soup from Norse and get a free copy of Harry's book, spot flying pigs and get a free copy of Harry's book, buy Harry's book at half price and get 2 copies. Fascinating. Deborah Mack says, I think you're giving Harry way too much power. Most people think he's twisted and sick. Let him write all the books he wants. Few believe his garbage. That book sold because people love gossip, not because they support him. Deborah Mack, what you say is absolutely true, but it doesn't go far enough. I'm not giving Harry any more power than he deserves. The fact of the matter is, if we don't stand up for the truth and expose the lies, the narrative would go into the ethos as if it were accurate. The reason why, as Edmund Burke says, all it takes is for good men to do nothing, for evil to flourish. So yes, the reason why people realize that the book is a fantasy is because people like me have been speaking the truth for a long enough time now for people who would otherwise believe the lie to know that it has been exposed as a lie. So nobody's giving Harry too much power. We're just making sure that the Harrys of this world understand that their efforts come to naught when, as Edmund Burke puts it, good men are not silent. Kate French says, I was thrilled to learn that the latest poll in the US has Harry and the Hadrian. Maybe it should be not only the Hadrian, but the Harridan. Sorry. In negative numbers, even in the coveted 18 to 24 age group. That is interesting. This shows that the US are not enamored of the couple in any way. Also, the sales of the book have been broken down, and it turns out that approximately 750,000 copies were sold in the UK. Yes, it was the UK that had the highest sales of the book. That means that around half of all the copies sold were in the UK. So again, the US didn't sell many copies at all because all the rest of the copies sold were the rest of the Western world combined. Again, more proof that the couple are not popular in the US, but do seem to remain popular, at least under the radar, in the UK. Thanks for that. My researches show that you are absolutely accurate in terms of your statistics. Bearing in mind what I said a few minutes ago about the fact that people who have ordered one, whether they paid for it or not, are getting two, that means that the 750,000 in the UK are already inflated, plus the 750,000 in the UK are books that have been sent out to the bookshops. That's not the same as sales. And of course, if you're buying one and getting two, and the two are then tabulated as sales, it artificially inflates the whole product. There is little doubt in my mind that Harry and Meghan have been losing support in the US dramatically. And Harry's book has lost him a whole load of support. Nobody likes seeing someone else, especially one of the most privileged people on earth, trashing his family with a poor me pose. It's unedifying. It's unmanly as well. And most of us, whether we're men, women, or anything else, usually like men to be men. I think you would agree with me there. So, across the board, very few people have any desire to have what in Jamaica they call a mantu instead of a man. And Harry's a mantu. Ildi Amon says, Dear Lady C, could you please do a section on why Meghan and Harry seem to hate Kate so much? Ildi Amon, it is the honor that the ordinary pay to the extraordinary. It's called envy. Harry loved Catherine. He said it. She was the sister he never had. He absolutely loved her until Iago came on the scene to drip poison in his ear and turn him off her. Well, you know, Catherine is a real person and she has substance. When you have substance, it's really easy to see through a poser. And Meghan has to be one of the all-time posers par excellence. I think of what I have been told, that Meghan drip-fed poison in Harry's ear and turned him off both Catherine and William. Now, in the book, he makes it clear that the relationship was always less smooth than the general public thought it was. But that didn't mean it wasn't good, and Harry wasn't hungry for his brother's approbation, his sister-in-law's love, the coziness of their family. He used to love it. There are parallels between this situation and the situation with the Duke and Duchess of York and the Prince of Wales in the 1920s and 30s, when George VI and Queen Elizabeth, as they became, had their two daughters, the Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret Rose. The then Prince of Wales, who became King Edward VIII, and the Duke of Windsor, was always at Royal Lodge and at 127 Piccadilly, dropped in several times a week for his injection of family life. Wallis Simpson came on the scene. Elizabeth couldn't stand Wallis. Once she discovered that Wallis was mocking her. It's in my book about my biography of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. It's called, let me try to remember. It's called The Untold Life of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. And to return to the point, once Elizabeth knew that Wallis was mocking her, she turned off Wallis in a massive way. Well, Meghan very quickly realized that Catherine didn't need to mock her. But the effect was the same, because she could see straight through her. And Meghan knew that what she was concealing and Catherine's eyes were revealing meant that she better destroy the relationship between Harry and his sister-in-law. Otherwise, Megsy baby couldn't have become a duchess. Hope that answers the question. For goodness sake, says, I would like your opinion, Lady C. I heard Tom Bower say the king is not keen to go hard on Harry out of guilt for his parenting skills. This got me thinking. I'm going to answer that part of it here. Tom Bower is wrong. Tom Bower wrote a book on the Prince of Wales. Tom Bower has, with Meghan and Harry, he has written a very good book. But Tom Bower gets the bit between his teeth. And sometimes he overgilds the lily. And I do not agree with everything Tom Bower says, and I'm sure he doesn't agree with everything I say. That's fair dues. But he's absolutely wrong on that score, because the Prince of Wales, as he then was, needed to feel no guilt about his parenting skills, as Tom Bower evidently stated in his biography of the Prince of Wales, as he then was. Charles was as good a father as it was possible to be, loving, concerned. Yes, he had very little time. Yes, he delegated a lot, but both those boys were well taken care of, and such time as he had, he gave to his boys. So I just interject there. So to go hard on Harry out of guilt for his parenting skills. This got me thinking. I understand his conflicted position, and I have sympathy for him. However, as king, he is not just a father. He is the king and has a responsibility to the crown. I know he has waited a lifetime to be king, but he must put the monarchy above his and Harry's needs. To capitulate to Harry is to risk the monarchy and leave William with a poisoned chalice. I, for one, would lose total respect for him if he does. So my question is, if Charles feels Harry is such a danger and he feels personally responsible for that, he should abdicate before the coronation and dedicate his time to assisting Harry's recovery. This gives William the chance for an unencumbered start. I know this sounds drastic, but thinking this through, it would diffuse Harry. He has the chance to get his father back and can never complain about being neglected again. And William and Catherine get a fresh start. It would be popular. I get he may not want to do that, but if the king capitulates, this is blackmail. He is basically tarnishing the monarchy and William's future reign with. Unless he is prepared to play hardball, I feel he needs to fall on his sword for the sake of the monarchy's future. What are your thoughts? Very interesting question, very interesting solution. I'm afraid, even though it would provide a very neat solution to a host of problems, I don't think Charles is going to be doing any such thing. First of all, he need feel no guilt where Harry is concerned. If Harry was always damaged, he might have been damaged from in the womb. Charles didn't carry him. That's number one. Number two, although schizophrenia does run in Charles's grandmother's family line, because his grandmother was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic, mental disturbance definitely runs even more closely and has run for far longer in the Spencer family. I don't think Charles will ever do anything of this nature. If he did, I think he would be tremendously respected by some people, and other people would despise him because they would think he hadn't fallen on his sword, he had failed to wield it when and how he ought to. So I don't think there's much danger of him using his sword to fall upon it. And that doesn't mean he's not trying to wield it behind the scenes in a way that is sufficiently humane and constructive to not only fulfill his obligations as a parent and as a decent human being, but also as the monarch. This is a very, very complex and layered issue. And I'm afraid there are not that many easy solutions. There never are where personality disorders and mental illness are concerned. Rosalind Wellington says, Lady C, Meghan has tearfully claimed that the media had endangered her life and that of her children for publicity and to make money. Sorry for laughing. Oh, sorry. One tear from the left eye. Poor Megsy baby. What has Harry now done to his own family with the Afghan killings? In addition, based on his comments about the royal family, particularly King Charles, William and Kate, and by extension the children, have become targets for deranged fans. The monarchy is also threatened by their outburst. At what price? H&M's need for money and to be relevant. Is it karma? Very interesting question and a host of observations. Thank you for them. Meghan's life has been endangered from long before she ever became famous, because her story is littered as she's trying to work her way into a position of recognition, that she's cutting deals with hotels and then having to enter them even though nobody knows who she is, under a nom de guerre, not even a nom de plume, a nom de guerre, a total incognito in case she is bothered by the public and press who know nothing about her, couldn't care less. So this is her paranoia and her overweening desire for recognition. It comes into play. What has Harry done? Harry has committed one of the greatest solecisms it is possible for a military person to commit. Every soldier knows you never, ever, ever discuss the blood you have on your hands. It is just not done for a host of good reasons, chief of which are that your enemy is also human. And you cannot be suitably military without accepting that fact and abiding by the Geneva Convention, which acknowledges humanity on both sides of any fence. He's done it to boast. He says he's not done it to boast, but he's done it to boast. Harry's a great boaster, you know, but he couches it in something else. Oh, yes, my Todger. I love my Todger, but I can't say I really am proud of my Todger. So I'm going to have to say that it got frost nip, and I'm going to show everybody what a big man. I'm going to show everybody what a big man I am. So I'm going to claim that I have killed, more than likely, many more people than he has. Disgusting, really shockingly disgraceful behavior on many levels. And yes, as with everything else, the consequences have not been thought through. He and Meghan lurch from one accident or calculated purpose with a negative outcome to another. They can't help themselves. This is the inevitability of people who have disordered personalities. It is inevitable that people who are disorderly create disorder. He was containable before he fell under her spell. He has been encouraged by her, and under her spell, he has indulged every negative feature of his personality in the most disgraceful way, judging by his conduct. Is it a price well worth paying? Well, as they count the many more than 30 pieces of silver that they have acquired as they have cut a swathe through life and their families, destroying everything around them, being disloyal, being inconsiderate, being thoughtless, being thankless, being hateful, because they are really very hateful people. Their conduct is hateful. They're always speaking about hate. They're the ones who are hateful. Don't take my word for it. Ask Thomas Markle Sr., ask Samantha, ask the King, ask Queen Camilla, ask Prince William, ask Catherine. I'll stop there. Janelle says, Lady C, do you think these two have really done any damage to the royal family or the monarchy? Everything I've seen has been increased support for King Charles, Prince William, and decreased support and believability in these two. He's unbelievably ignorant. His book is to help William's children, the same way talking about his kill count is to help suicidal vets. In his numbskull. Well, what do I think? I think if we were not careful to nail down the issues as they arise, his misconduct and version of his truth, which bears no relationship to the truth, or very little relationship to the truth, would proliferate. And once it did that, it would be a danger. But it's been so flagrant, and there have been people, and I count myself amongst their number, who have seen that there were narratives that needed to be countered, failing which destructiveness would flourish. We have dug ditches that have diverted the river, so it's not going to flood our well-tended fields. It's going to circumvent them, and it is going to go into a river, or it's going to go into a delta, but it's not going to harm the product of society's endeavors. But yes, I do think that several people have said it, and I've actually said it, that Harry and Meghan's conduct is so gross that it has focused the public's attention on the work of the royals, who have shone by example, and by drawing attention the way Harry and Meghan have done to the other royals, the corollary has been, or the consequence might be a better word, has been that the public are now far more aware of the good that the royal family does. And yes, that's why their popularity increases as Harry and Meghan's decreases. But let's not forget, the narrative is such that it has caused damage. Harry and Meghan's undoubted accusations of racism against the royal family. And Harry can lie till he's blue in the face. There is no way that he and Meghan did not accuse the royal family, well, Meghan more particularly, accused the royal family of racism with Oprah. She even used the word racist to say that, to imply that the behavior of the person who had made the comment was racist. And Doria, her mother, in the Netflix series, categorically states it's racist. And the Commonwealth has, the monarchy supporting segment of the Commonwealth, the moderates and traditionalists within the various Commonwealth states that have primarily black populations, were seriously affected by these claims. So it's only now that enough people like me and Tom Bauer and Dan Wooten and Camilla Tominey and Katie Nicholl and Valentine Lowe have made the points that we have made, that have taken the blinkers off people's eyes and opened up their eyes to the reality. But make no mistake about it, Harry and Meghan set out to do damage to make money. They have done damage. The fact that much of the damage is now being mitigated doesn't alter the fact that they set out to do maximum damage so that they could make a maximum bucks by doing damage. Mavis Miller says, "You are spot on regarding drug effects on disordered minds. I should be, my dear. I have a lifetime of scars mentally via the experience of having lived with people who have been drug-addled. And alcohol actually is a drug. Alcoholics are drug addicts, incidentally, for what that's worth. Do you think H's drugs may be exacerbating an already present paranoia? He seems to have been troubled from childhood. Would being spoiled and indulged to the point that he feels entitled to do whatever he wants exacerbate that condition? I worked in jails before retirement and saw the effects of drug use firsthand. Many inmates had therapy, but nothing seemed to change for most of them. One told me how he became extremely paranoid and dangerous under the effects of cocaine, so much so that even after being dry, at least as far as cocaine was concerned, though I believe weed was easily procured in jail, and it still affected the way he responded to people or places. So-called harmless pot may also affect those who overindulge, as a friend discovered years ago after giving it up. Mavis Miller, that's a fascinating question and with observations. Most drug addicts, and I include alcoholics in this number, not all, but most, are self-medicating to cover up some other problem. Those that aren't might have a genetic propensity towards addiction. There are various studies that have been done, and the results are not definitive, but the suggestion is that there might well be a genetic element to addiction. Certainly, addicts like the effect that their addiction gives them. I've always said that they're actually using the substance to bridge one part of their personality with another. It's a bridge to access another part of the personality. Shorthand therapy, to put it in very pedestrian terms. That's been my experience of the addicts I've seen. No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical person. I do have years of experience with addiction gratis. My mother and my ex-husband, and having been to Al-Anon and AA. And then writing Daughter of Narcissus and having to research the subject in great depth. If Harry had been prone, because Harry was spoiled, Diana spoiled him. Diana spoiled both those boys. But William is more intelligent than Harry. William was that much older than Harry. William had those two advantages. But William is more grounded than Harry, naturally. So if there is a genetic predisposition, it seems not to have engulfed William while it has ensnared Harry. But being spoiled and indulged is certainly one of the absolute go-to ways of creating a narcissist. And also creating spoiled brats who suffer from a host of cocktail disorders. So it's not just one disorder, it's several disorders that they suffer from. It's a classic. It's one of the classical ways of being assured of creating a mess. It says it in the Bible, spare the rod, spoil the child. Children need discipline. That is the message of the Bible. And please, those of you who are taking it literally and say, we don't beat children nowadays, that's not the recommendation. The recommendation is children need discipline to feel secure, to have boundaries, to have morals, to have ethics. You're not born with them. You're born with a personality. Character is developed. Drugs, put drugs on top of being a spoiled brat, but most spoiled brats develop a personality disorders. They don't have the tools for negotiating life properly that children who are disciplined have. Now, this, I have to tell you, is sometimes one of the positives of coming from a really mixed up background. If you have parents or a parent who is a really disordered personality, you will sometimes profit from the experience and learn to not be like them. That's one of the welcome side effects of having disordered parents. Didn't happen with Harry. Harry was spoiled rotten, and Harry was very, well, naughty, even as a little boy. Endearing, but naughty. Add drugs to the equation, and I'm sorry, Harry has made it clear that he does not regard himself as an addict. My mother died of alcoholism and wouldn't admit she was an alcoholic. It's perfectly typical with addicts and people with personality disorders. You think a narcissist ever admits they're a narcissist? Do you think a sociopath ever admits they're a sociopath? There's nothing wrong with them, my dear. It's you. How dare you insult them by calling them such and such? Then and the drugs simply fry whatever brains there are and exacerbate whatever underlying problems there are. But they have a welcome effect for the taker of the drugs. They anesthetize them. They prevent them from feeling what we are experiencing and therefore suffering as a result of their conduct. I hope that explains it. We could go on and on about this for 3 days and still not comprehensively cover the subject, but I hope I have touched upon it sufficiently to make it intelligible. Carol Newcomer says, hello, Lady C. Did Princess Diana know Harry had mental issues? Love your show. Thank you. Thank you, Carol Newcomer. No. She knew Harry was like her. She used to say it. She used to say that Harry was as dumb as she was. In various ways and means, she'd convey that thought. Diana wasn't dumb. She simply wasn't academic. She was very wily. Harry is turning out to be rather wily too. But Diana was far cleverer than Harry. Harry's not very clever. Diana was clever. And the Spencers are very intelligent, I have to tell you. As a family, they are intelligent. You only need to read his Uncle Charles's books to see that they are an intelligent family. But they are. I know that to be a fact because I know people who know them. Even Diana. Harry, I think, is much less intelligent than she was. And it is possible that her bulimia had an effect upon him because she was bulimic while pregnant with Harry. So that is a possibility. Or that her body was already so starved, even if she had not been bulimic during the pregnancy, which she was, her body would have been so depleted by the bulimia of many of its necessary nutrients. This is one of the problems with bulimia. It depletes the body of necessary nutrients. That would have an impact upon any child a woman was carrying. So, I don't think Diana thought that Harry had mental issues. I think she thought that he was naughty, and she encouraged him to be naughty. She used to tell him It doesn't matter what you do, just make sure you don't get caught. That is a charter for delinquency. Jennifer Duncan says, Todger talk. I know many men in the far north, often below Celsius by 50 degrees, have never heard of frostbit penis, toes, fingers, never a todger. And they don't wear extra bits on their groins as Harry claims he got for his second trip. You would have to try to make love with a snowman for that to happen. Oh dear. I think it's as imagined as much else in the book. I think he might have had a little itch, or more likely, down there, a little bit of powder might have ended up down there. You know, he might have wanted the train to stay on the tracks rather longer than it is naturally disposed to do. And he wanted to delay its arrival at the terminus. Possible, I would imagine. But thank you for the elucidation. It is much appreciated. And it certainly bears out what I have been hearing. But then, Harry has us talking. And if there's one lesson he's learned from Meghan is don't be limited by the truth when your truth can get you nearer the cash register. Gabrielle Schiavo says, Hello, Lady C. Understanding how these two feed off each other, it really makes me wonder what happened on their first few dates. Is there some kind of crazy radar these people can see in each other? I really can't imagine being on a first or second date and suddenly deciding to get together and cause all this destruction. Well, Gabrielle Schiavo, I don't actually think that Harry went into the relationship to create destruction. I think Meghan went into the relationship with her eyes and everything else wide open so that she would be able to milk everything and get the fame that she sought and has not achieved. She's achieved infamy. And the money that she desired, which she has not achieved to the extent that they are trying to stay. So she's failed on both those counts. But I think she went in with everything wide open. Wide open. Him? No. I think he went in with his hopes, needs, deprivations, desires, dreams, fantasies, and disorders. And Meghan saw the Duke coming and thought, well, this is so exciting. I'm going to be a princess. Princess Meghan of Montecito. And then she just unleashed all of those charms on H and just had him spinning like a top. Since when? His feet haven't hit the ground. And he has been catapulted into a completely different stratosphere as she tells him how enlightening that the experience with her is. And as she shakes off all of his conditioning. But Harry, in his book, said that one of the things that appealed to him about Meghan immediately was that she was free. What he really means is he detected that she had no boundaries, that she, as he has said, was capable of anything. That means the sociopath within him, and I'm not saying he's a sociopath, I'm just saying the sociopath within him, identified and thought, oh, I see the sociopath within her, and for legal reasons I'll also see. I'm not actually saying she's a sociopath, but they do both display very, very antisocial aspects to their personalities, and they both also have pushed every boundary that the average person would regard as decent and acceptable and chucked them over. Family, out the window. Loyalty, what's that? Giving them money. But so, yes, he, I think, went in with innocence. I think she went in with the cash registers ringing. How exciting, how wonderful. I'm going to have security in every way possible. I'm going to be the richest, most famous person on earth. He's a prince. I'm going to become a princess. I'm going to be able to just take over the world. She told her manager that she was going to change the world with Harry. This was after their second or third date. She knew exactly what she could achieve with him. The problem is she didn't understand that haste makes waste. And the one thing it wastes very quickly is a good reputation. And haven't they wasted their good reputations? Because let's remember how people felt about them in the early days. They were admired, they were loved, they were embraced. Look at them now. And to wrap it up, I will say, I had a friend who was a psychologist at the Majesty. She's now dead. But she once said something really interesting. She said, in the first 15 seconds of meeting someone, you unconsciously intuit more about them than you realize, and it may take you 15 years to realize what you intuited. That's why you should always listen to your first instincts when you meet people. It's unconscious to unconscious, and it just reads unconsciously. Then we cover the knowledge that we have gained intuitively with civilized observations, with reason, we talk ourselves out of our accurate estimate of that person. Well, that's what a coup de foudre is all about. That's what an immediate connection is all about. You connect immediately on an unconscious level. You may think that your unconscious connection is a positive when in fact it's tremendously negative. I speak from experience. On the other hand, you can intuit very positively. I speak from experience as well. There is no doubt that Harry and Meghan were a very good fit. And I say that not in terms of good and bad, I just say that in terms of the shape. It goes in. Doesn't matter whether it's ugly, pretty, big, small, whatever. It is what it is. And there are sound psychological reasons for why they connected so well. Or to put it another way, why he was lured into the relationship with her that he has been lured into by her. April City Girl to Country Wife says, Lady C, M started willing H on this path, but do you think she has lost a bit of control? Even if she divorces him, she will still have the stench of him and her own behavior on her. Well, may I say, if they get divorced, it is a stench that some people will regard as attar of roses. There are always people who desire well-known people, irrespective of what they're well known for. There are also dupes who think, oh, I don't want to be unkind, I'll give her a chance. The stench, she won't care about the stench as long as she has the name and the money behind her. And she might well meet someone who doesn't care about the stench either, because it's a feather in his cap. That means he will be someone totally undesirable in social and, one would imagine, other terms. But if he has the money, and he might have the looks, and he might have the todger. That's right. To go along with it all. And then they will be like two pigs in the muck, rolling around delightedly, thinking, isn't this muck wonderful? So, the stench, there are always people who appreciate stinks. That's one bit of it. As for the other, has she lost control of him? She does evidently sometimes lose control of him. But if you understand the dynamics of the relationship, you will know that she winds him up. He off like a toy, but she knows what his predilections are, what buttons to press, and she likes the excitement and the drama. She also, I have been told enjoys not only the power she has over him, but the ability to encourage him to go down paths that you and I may find astonishing and undesirable, but they not only add drama and excitement to their lives, they serve another purpose. Harry makes an ass of himself, and Meghan has another little black mark against him, saving it for a rainy day. DIVORCE. Real Svengali time. All I can say is I've seen relationships like that. God spare me. Lisa Stolnaker says, Lady C, I am currently reading your book, The Real Diana. It is fascinating. I highly recommend it to others. Thank you very much. I can now clearly see the very many ways that Harry is attempting to duplicate his mother's behaviours and modus operandi as Harry understands it. Regarding Diana and Charles, it is very much a hearing of the rest of the story that we never got told all these many years. It certainly corrects the record and paints a far more accurate portrait of Diana and her marriage, as well as Charles and his predicament. He really did try to do right by her, didn't he? I suspect he has done all he possibly can for Harry too. I love your writing style and the revelations. Thank you very much. It means a lot to me. May I say, People magazine said it was the most believable biography that had ever been written about Diana. At least they used to get things right. I'm not so sure they do anymore, but there we go. Yes. All the evidence that I have had presented to me over these last 3 and plus now decades confirmed to me that Charles went into that marriage with clean hands, good intentions, with the expectation, which was rather more than a hope, that he and Diana would be lifelong companions, loving and supportive of each other. She led him to believe, up until the marriage, that she was a far more amenable and obliging personality than she turned out to be. As soon as the wedding ring was on the finger, she showed how intractable and dominating a personality she was. She also, in fairness to her, was young, came from a troubled background. Her elevation from ordinary, middling, really pretty, unexciting and unexceptional aristocrat to this fantastic, fabled Princess of Wales. It was a total change, not only of status, but of personality. And she derailed by imploding. And she became bulimic. She became bulimic between the engagement and the marriage. I mean, it's a very sad and tragic story. And it goes to show that you can have every worldly blessing in life. If you don't have stability and you don't have good mental health, you really are impoverished. Charles did try. He tried in every way he could. So he wasn't perfect. Nobody presented with the problems that Diana had, except a professional, could have coped with her. Nobody. Even professionals find it difficult to cope with people who suffer from the problems Diana suffered from, and she did suffer. Harry has used his mother and the destructive aspects of her personality, because she had destructive aspects to her personality. She also had constructive aspects to her personality. But he has used the destructive aspects of her personality to give him permission. And one of the things that has enchanted him about Meghan is that her destructive aspects of her personality accord discomfortingly similarly to us, but very comfortingly similarly to him with his mother. It is a huge mess. I feel sorry for the whole lot of them, but that doesn't mean, because you feel sorry for people, that you don't call them out on their destructiveness and that you refuse to tolerate it. You know, there are a few things that are really necessary when dealing with people who have unacceptable personality traits. And I leave you with one of the things I used to say to my mother. Because people like Meghan, Harry, and Mummy cannot help riding roughshod over boundaries when they wish to do so. And there's no point in trying to teach them to be good. That's a lesson they should have been taught when they were very young, or maybe it's a lesson they were never capable of learning. So I used to say to Mummy, I'm sorry, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I will see you in the morning. It's good relationships or no relationships at all with me. Goodbye. See you in the morning. That's one of the things I used to say to her, drawing the line very firmly. That's the sort of lingo that people like that understand, as long as it suits them to remain on good terms with you. As soon as it suits them to ride roughshod over you, they couldn't care less. Good relationships or no relationships. Oh, I'm going to do without a relationship. I'm going to sell that beach house that belongs to my daughters. That's what Mummy did. Harry and Meghan, they've done worse than selling beach houses that didn't belong to them. Look at the havoc they have created. One has to sympathize with everybody concerned, but that doesn't mean we have to accept bad behavior. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please remember, Keep the comments and questions coming in. This cannot be done without you. God bless and goodbye.